Hi, everyone, and welcome to the AI Interconnect podcast, where we sit down with the leaders building the future of real estate, technology, and AI. I'm your host, Laurent, and today I'm joined by someone sits at the intersection of strategy, innovation, and homeownership technology, Erica Olge, and senior VP of Strategic Initiative at Househappy. Erica, it's a real pleasure to have you here. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. That's going to be a great talk. Um, I've been I've been following uh, what you and House Happy team are doing, especially the work around simplifying the homeowner experience and addressing compliance and privacy in PropTech. And there's a lot to explore here. And so let's dive in. Um, and let's start with your journey, Erika. Um, you have held leadership role across multiple strategy verticals. What originally led you to into this space, and how did your path lead you to House Happy?
Yeah, I never thought I would be doing this, and I guess probably most people in this space would say the same thing. I originally went to school for, actually, I thought I was going to be a Spanish and Italian teacher. And so I was teaching and realized I hated teaching and decided to go into architecture and was in architecture. And that was right around 2008 when everything collapsed and I got let go from the firm I was at. And ended up the only job I could get was with Windermere Real Estate, and ended up redoing their offices. And that was my job at the time, was to redo their real estate offices. And then I started getting into some marketing and branding work, and that is how I fell into Househappy and PropTech. And we originally started, I believe, in 2011 as a search portal for real estate under a different founder, and the entire thing imploded about 6 weeks after I started.
Wow.
And yeah, there was a few of us left, and we started looking at what we were going to do, because there's no way we were going to go out and compete with Zillow and raise hundreds of millions of dollars to spend on marketing. And that is how we landed on, what do homeowners need? They need help finding contractors, and finding contractors that aren't going to rip them off or steal from them, or that are going to be good citizens in their home. And so that is why we started Househappy. And it's evolved a lot over the years. So that was around, I think our official start date for this current model was 2015. So I've been doing it for a little over 10 years, and it has been very rewarding. Now we're to the point where we've got a network of 90,000 contractors across the United States, and can actually fulfill
Wow.
anybody's needs that they have.
Wow. I love fantastic. Yeah, a lot of challenges at um, at a difficult time when you start. Um, I mean, you started before 2008, but obviously 5 years or 3 years after coming into your first job and getting into this deep into this crisis must have been very hard. Um, but you make it up to here, and let's talk about How's Happy. From from the outside, uh, it's clear there is a strong mission behind the company. Um, how would you describe How's Happy core purpose today?
Yeah, our core purpose is to help match homeowners to contractors. And not in the same way that Home Advisor will. I don't believe you guys have Thumbtack in Europe, but they're a similar app. And I'm going to tell a story of what happened to me a couple weeks ago that I think is really speaks to why we exist. So a couple weeks ago, I hired a contractor off of an app to come clean my house, just to test the app. I have a regular cleaner, and I didn't need them to come. The man showed up, and he didn't have a car. He had a really dirty vacuum cleaner. He smelled like cigarette smoke. He came into my house. He had work boots. He didn't have booties. He had no idea how to clean. He had two cleaning supplies. He asked to borrow my paper towels. He really was a scary person.
Wow.
He was in my house for multiple hours. At one point, he actually pulled out a knife and started edging my carpet with a very long knife. And I have a 3-year-old, and that is really terrifying to me. Um, he said he used to work on carpet, and so he could help me fix it. And he left. And then 2 nights later, and I, can't prove that it was him, but it was on the heels of it, somebody tried to break into my house. So I came back with another person. Now we have cameras up. I've reinstalled a security system, all of those things. But really, why we exist is to help prevent that situation from happening to people so that they can have, a good experience where a cleaner comes and does what they're supposed to do. And you don't have to worry about somebody coming back and trying to, break into your house while your children are there.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Um, okay. Yeah, that's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And basically, as a senior VP of strategic initiative, what's your current focus? Where are you placing most of your energy right now?
So I guess I'll connect the prop tech for you right now, so that it all comes together. My current focus right now is trying to figure out, because we generally, so the way we acquire our customers is they come to us after they've closed on a new home sale. So we're at the very end of the real estate funnel. So they close on a home sale and they're usually gifted our service as part of their closing gift from usually their lender or their realtor, or we have a lot of title partnerships and insurance now as well. So when they receive our product, they can start using us and ordering services. What we need to focus on is how do we get further up the funnel, and how do I get in front of those customers prior to them, arriving at that home purchase. So a lot of our customers obviously are looking for leads, and how do we drive more leads by getting further up the funnel? So the very particular thing I'm working on right now is, are there companies that we can merge with that would make sense to work us further up the funnel so that we could nurture those customers all the way through from maybe them thinking about purchasing to, on the very end of the spectrum, how do we take care of that home that they've been in? And then how do we also retain those customers and push them back to the same folks that they used at the beginning to do another transaction?
Okay. Wow. Heavy work, a lot of work. Very interesting. Um, Company-wise, what makes your company different? The platform, user experience, services from your competition.
So I think, most of our competition just offers a list of, you know, contractors in the area. Our back end actually takes a customer order for whether, right now we fulfill 200 different service types. That grows every day. So whether you need house cleaning or underwater welders or a full bathroom remodel, whatever it is, we will actually source that pro for you. So you put in an order, and just like Amazon, that order goes out to every contractor that's available within your zip code and invites them to give a bid. And then you can receive bids back and look at all those bids, and they're real, and click to order, right? Um, that makes a big difference. Previously, I think up till now, I should say, we've really been very high touch. We have a concierge model, so that team works to make sure those contractors are vetted and qualified and not somebody that's going to try and break into your home later. Um, I would say now, and just like every other company out there, and is, I've been joking about an AI problem. And how do we use AI to not necessarily hire more people, but scale faster with, some type of artificial intelligence? And what that looks for us today is not terribly sophisticated. We're not using it at its fullest capacity. But it's more so of like, how do we pass off little tasks? How do we use Claude to, make our marketing copy better? How do we, start to automate some of what our people do, and really have them managing, artificial intelligence assistants rather than having to manage so many jobs. So high touch has been very helpful for us in learning, because now I have a ton of data. I've got 10 years of phone calls and uh, chats and now bid data, right? So I've got 10 years worth of contracting projects with all of that data that I can use to start to really, help the customer better, and not just have people that are trained on looking at that data, because our people are great at it. But how do we scale beyond them actually having to read each job and make sure that that contractor is being fair and correct? And how do we use, all of this information that we've had to further help people and more quickly?
That's awesome. That's incredible. Um, are, are you, is it worldwide, your product, your
It's not.
services?
We're no,
No,
we're
worldwide. Nationwide, meaning, I'm
we're
sorry.
yes, yeah, no, we cover all 50 states.
Okay. Wow.
We do have one
Okay.
client that services Guam, and we provide our app there, but we are not serving contractors there.
Um, okay, that's very very interesting. Every let's look at. I want to look at some trends, and every company right now is navigating uh, a fast-moving landscape. And from your seats, what trend in PropTech are worth paying attention to? Um, and not just hype, but things that are really reshaping how we think about ownership or home ownership, real estate, and data.
I mean, there's a large, I mean, you've probably seen the news, but all of a sudden our multiple listing service is not necessarily going to have all of our listings that show all of our homes available. I mean, that's a massive shift. The fact that some brokerages are actually trying to own those listings and only show homes to homeowners that are going to be, part of part of their ecosystem. So that's a very it's a very interesting move, and it's obviously changing everything, because there's a massive lack of, in my opinion, lack of transparency, and it's not necessarily great for the customer when they can't see, or so much of this business is driven by what's good for the company, or what's good for the real estate agent, or what they understand. And I think that very little of it is driven for what's great for the homeowner. And that really is what's lacking, in my opinion, is, you should be able to see everything available to you to purchase. You should be able to control the marketing around your home. You should be able to have that type of transparency, and that is very much so changing right now. The other thing that's changing is we're obviously seeing some large companies start to roll up and start to make some moves to control, everything from loan operations to kind of that entire funnel that I was speaking to before. So how this all plays out in the next year will be really interesting.
Interesting. Exactly. Um, is there anything in particular that you feel is still being overlooked or misunderstood in this industry?
Well, really, it's just everything for the homeowner. And coming from having, worked in real estate myself, and not selling, but actually on the brokerage side, and having seen kind of what goes on, I think all real estate agents want to serve the homeowner. All loan officers want to serve a homeowner. They aren't necessarily given the tools to do that. And I don't, they consider themselves the local experts, and they are, and they should be empowered to do that. And the homeowner should have full transparency on that. And I don't necessarily know if that's what's being provided to them.
That makes sense. Definitely. Um, and I like to talk about challenges and maybe let's get into the friction points. What are some of the real challenges you're dealing with right now? Whether could be operational or technical or strategic.
Yeah, I think I mean, there's a lot of challenges always in
Yes,
this business. I
of
mean,
course.
yeah. I think right now, more of our challenges are strategic as far as a company, just because we are technically built out, and it's what's next for us, and what does that look like? And how, how do we better scale that to serve more people? We've always chosen a very our path for our company has always been dictated by uh, who would pay us for customers, essentially, because we're providing a service it's not inexpensive to make sure that contractors are good and to manage projects for them. um, but we're at a point where brokerages really don't have, there's no margin there to spend on services like ours, unless they're generating leads. And we've got a lot of great statistics around retention, and people that have been using us for 8-9 years and have a 50% retention rate, where they're going to service their past clients. But it's very hard to convince somebody to, if they can't get a lead in the next 90 days, to see beyond that.
Yeah. Then, okay, then there is this challenge of um, hiring new contractors, I guess. Um, what about the adoption curve, or market the education for the clients?
Yeah, so and that's what I actually mean is it's more about the real estate agent not being able to see beyond 90 days for a job.
Yeah.
Contractors are they're actually in, not, I don't want to say an easier network to manage, because they have their own nuances and issues. But that network is fairly well built out for us at this point. We have a team that spends all of their time talking to contractors on the phone and vetting them, and that part of this was interesting, because no one thought at the beginning that we were going to be able to do that piece of it, because it is very hard. But that network we've been working on it for so long that it's fairly stable at this point. It really is realtors, and how do we work further up the funnel so that we can provide them leads sooner in the process. Right now, it's just, we are a retention play. And so telling somebody that they may have to wait for that client to move out of their house in 5 years to get to help them again is just, they might not be in the business that long.
Definitely. And when it comes to AI, compliance, privacy, uh, which I know it's all that is hot button topics. Um, uh, how are you thinking about them inside Househappy? Is
Yeah, compliance has been a long standing issue for us, just because we receive customers at the close of a sale. So,
Yeah.
sharing their data with us is necessary so that we can perform service on their home. And that's long been something that we've been having to kind of deal with and navigate, and use, even things as simple as SMS. I'm currently talking to certain lenders that can't get an SMS number because the privacy laws in the United States right now, they just don't want them texting people.
That's true.
um which is, that's always going to be a challenge. That's a, I find out from partners all the time that, like, the text didn't get through, or the email didn't get through, or whatever. um but that's, it's become manageable. It's always something we'll deal with, though. Like, even on the email front, like, Google constantly changes things, and so we have to be really smart about how we send email and how we get into inboxes and make sure our customers receive things. On the AI front, there I mean, it's endless possibilities, right? I think that we need to
Yeah.
focus more on it. It's something that I personally have avoided for years, mostly due to environmental concerns, which sounds ridiculous, probably. I've just somebody has got to solve some of the issues around the energy that it's using, and the water, and all of those things. I think are probably arguably the most important thing, like, facing mankind right now. Um,
You're
but
right. You're right.
yeah, but using it has become apparent that now that is something that we need to dive into head first, and every aspect of our business, not just to remain relevant, but just to remain a business at this point. I think you have to be using AI. There's companies I'm associated with where I get, like, polls on, like, what should we name a product, or whatever, and it's funny, because you're going to get a better answer out of Claude than you're going to get out of asking 100,000 people. So
Of course. Yeah. That's interesting. Um, if you had if you had a magic wand and you could solve one industry-wide pain point instantly, what would it be?
Emergency services for the homeowner. Give you an example. So last August it was 100 degrees here, so it'd be like 40 degrees for you guys, right? And it was very, very hot. And there was a wildfire outside, so we couldn't open any of our windows. Something that, I live on the West Coast and we've been dealing with really badly is wildfires completely out of control. So the months of August and September now are wildfire season, and you can't go outside. The air quality is going to be over 300. It's bad. So we can't open our windows, and it's very hot, and our AC dies. And I start calling people asking, we're dying in here. Can somebody show up to help fix this situation? And every single company tells me that they're at least 2 weeks out. And I'm like, in a full panic at this point, and I don't want to ask my team because they're busy. So finally I break down and I call my staff and I'm like, hey, can somebody help with this? I get a call back 45 minutes later, and they had somebody at our place in less than 12 hours. They showed up on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. They fixed our AC. And really, I think solving practical problems for the customer, and that being the homeowner, is really probably the most important thing that anybody can do, whether that be from the real estate side or the lending side or the home maintenance side. Solving customer problems very quickly and being the point of contact to actually help do that, and kind of old-fashioned service, in my opinion, is really where kind of the largest pain point lies, because it's just, instead of getting better, it's getting worse for most people.
That's great. You're helping. Um, Very interesting. And okay, let's move on to uh, forward. we we heading into pivotal point or time. Everyone's talking about AI, real time data, personalized platform. So I'm I'm curious, what does your 2025 2026 vision look like for a happy house, for Househappy? Sorry,
Happy House does chow mein.
happy
Um,
house could be nice.
um, yeah, I think one is to grow kind of our artificial intelligence, and better ways that we can use it for better ways that we can serve the customer. Um, and really actually start to scale some of the things that we've been working on for so long, and using some of that data that we've accumulated for 10 years to better help those people. Um, and better help my staff. I think that there's a lot of support that could be given through artificial intelligence that we're just now opening up. I mean, I'm trying to get our development team right now to decide on what AI tools they want to use and have a standard for it. And that's turned into a very, you know, everybody wants to use it. Nobody wants to say that they're using it, and everyone's afraid of losing their job once they
Oh,
start using it. And
oh no.
so, which is really actually couldn't be further from the truth, because somebody still
Yeah.
has to like use the tool. Um, but I would say our team is probably in some instances dragging their feet on figuring some of that out. And every week I get an update, and we're slowly getting there. I think by the end of this month we'll have AI implemented across marketing, hopefully development, products definitely using it. um, yeah, sales is definitely using it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, no, I mean, you're excited about helping your team. That's what I see,
Yep.
and that's great. That's your vision for uh, the next month or years, and they need to be they need to be educated on with AI. Um, because those who will stay are those who will know about using AI, and those who will go is those who don't know how to use AI. But they shouldn't be afraid of using it, and learning, and it's the only solution.
It is.
And that's great that you are starting. Every department on your company is starting right now,
Yeah, I mean, I think
right?
there's a larger play with all of that data and how do we take it and use it for good. Um, but for right now and for this year, I mean, really what I'm focused on is, small little tangible bite-sized things that everybody can do to dip their toe in the water and not be scared of
Yeah, baby step, of course.
it. Hmm.
Now, and how do you personally stay grounded while leading through all these changes? Uh, it's you have a specific you have tricks, tips and tricks, habits,
Tips and tricks.
routines.
I personally, my tips and tricks involve getting outside. I'm a runner and I like to be outside and I like to, regardless of what time of year it is, get outside and not be stuck to my computer. So as long as
Of
I can
course.
do that, I feel good about things.
But your the situation of August of wildfire last year. I mean, every year you think this year will be the same. I mean, for quality of air outside
I hope
is
not, but I
it's
don't see there's a lot of forest to manage, and we kind of are stuck in this, at least in my opinion, world where half the forest is either the idea of managing a forest and logging. I don't, as somebody who's come from Oregon, I don't think is a bad thing. I think we do it in a bad way and maybe irresponsible way. And so it's like, how do we balance business and nature and actually
and
have them,
beauty. Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
and beauty. And but if we don't manage the forest at all, what we've noticed is just with climate change that it just goes up in flames for a couple months every year. I mean, this year I planned a trip to Mexico in August, uh, just because I know that I'm going to need to get out and breathe some fresh air. This is a problem that we're really facing that needs it needs some focus. And I don't think that right now, I don't think our approach is wrong, but I also don't think it's right. I think that, the ecosystems and business need to work together to fix this problem, and it's not getting fixed well. I've been told that this year will be different, but I since 2014 we've been dealing with this in a very, very bad way. um
I know we're following this very closely here because we could have the same problem in Spain and south of France,
yep.
but the dimension, the dramatic dimension of California, Oregon as well as a lot of
Hmm.
fires.
Yeah.
Phew, well,
Where I'm located in Bend actually is it's beautiful. We've got over 200 lakes and it's gorgeous. And I grew up here and I was lucky enough to move back a couple years ago. And it, we get California's smoke that lands here, and we get the smoke
yeah.
from many fires in Canada.
Mm,
So everything comes to us. Um, yeah, it's not good. We've also got,
mm.
if I could go on about this forever, but we've got a large homeless situation going on on the West Coast in particular. It's all over the United States at this point, but in my particular town, because we're extremely dry and high altitude there, and we don't allow camping in the city, we have had a lot of people camping in the woods, thousands of people that are camping in the woods and that are setting fires, and because
Yeah,
they need to
of
stay
course.
warm at night. And so how do we manage that situation, as well as, keep our town safe? It has become a very hot topic. So right now we're in the middle of moving thousands of people out of the woods so that we can move in and manage some of those forests around us. But with this whole plan, we also didn't give them anywhere to go.
Yeah. Well, let's cross finger for this summer, and
Yep.
yeah. Before we wrap, I've got a few um, rapid fire question to close out.
Sure.
Um, Answer very quickly. Maybe not everything is one prop tech innovation you think is underrated.
Hmm. Uh, that's interesting. That's an interesting question.
Stuff. No problem.
Hmm. I don't know if I have an answer for that one. I try to find value in everyone's product. Not that everyone survives, but I really actually try to see, I recently met with a founder who had started an app that's just for buyers. And it's like reverse
Mhm.
Zillow. So you post what you want and how do you get that into, I think that'd be wonderful for a homeowner. But actually, how do you get people to wrap their heads around a reverse Zillow? Is
Ah,
the education around that product is not, it's almost so difficult that it's a no go. Yeah.
yeah, outreach, lead generation.
Yep.
One, maybe a book, a podcast, an idea that shaped your thinking lately.
My thinking lately has actually come from quite honestly, especially my thinking around AI has come from a group that I recently joined called GEM, and they're a group of founders that I hadn't met with before, that actually jump started this entire idea of like trying to actually bite off AI in small chunks rather than think about it as this large, like, life-changing thing, and have it be so magnanimous. And how do you make it small and helpful?
Hmm,
Really has been
interesting.
very helpful for me. Yeah.
I like this. Very
Mhm.
interesting. Um, the best advice you have ever received about leading through change?
Uh, One, that we create our own prisons,
Yeah.
and probably two, that um, living through change is part of history. So you either need to learn with it or move, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't change, you die.
Yeah. Mhm.
um, um, and maybe a bold prediction for PropTech by 2026. Um, maybe your mission, maybe your vision of your company.
Uh, Househappy Europe.
I'm sorry.
Househappy Europe.
Ah, okay. Okay, fantastic. Um, okay, Erica, thank you very, very much for such insightful conversation. I really, really appreciate, and we learned a lot. You brought so much clarity and perspective, not just on where PropTech is headed, but on the real strategic thinking behind the scene of Househappy. And if people want to learn more about your work or follow what you're building, where's the best place to find you?
LinkedIn.
Okay, okay, very cool. Thank you very much. That's it for today's episode of the AI Interconnect podcast. If you enjoy it, share it with someone who is building the future, or better yet, someone who should be. And until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep building. Thank you very much, Erica. See you
Thank
very, very
you.
soon. Thank
Bye.
you.